Welcome back to our series of interviews with UAE's amazing members all over the world. It's a huge pleasure to introduce you again today to Marie and Aideen Hopkins at EER based in the Emirates. We spoke, we were just saying, 2 months, can't believe it was 2 months ago. But at the same time, it feels like yesterday. At the same time, it feels like time is this weird elastic band. How are you? It's good to see you. How are you doing? You doing okay?
Great. Yeah.
Great. Fantastic to hear it. So I'm going to ask you, so when we last spoke, we had some very interesting discussions about how the Emirates were handling the pandemic. What's happening now across the Emirates? Ooh, I've lost your sound.
Yeah. Marie, we can't hear you.
How weird. It's fine.
Sorry.
There we go. Yes, perfect.
Apologies. Dom, yeah, the last time we spoke, I mentioned that our borders closed on the 25th of March, and they still are closed. The government opened up a new initiative on the 1st of June to bring back residents that were stuck overseas. There are around 200,000 residents outside of the country. So they launched this initiative on June 1st, and people need to apply online and get approval before they come back. So not everyone is getting approved. It very much is a case-by-case basis. There have been some rejections. They are making priority for separated families and key workers. And slowly residents are starting to come back again. So that's the first, positive sign of the border that was opening to residents first. In country, then they're starting to ease restrictions. Offices are open 100%. EER, we're back in the office 100%. Malls are open 100%. Restaurants, beaches, gyms, cinemas. Everything is really open, but of course with strict social distancing measures in place. We have to wear a mask outside our homes all of the time. 2-meter rule. Every time you go into a building, your temperature is checked. So, even though there's a lot of freedom now and people are out and about, the restaurants are busy up to their capacity, roads are busy again. But of course, there is strict measures in place with that. Abu Dhabi is under a strict lockdown at the moment. So the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, you can't leave the Emirate or you can't go into the Emirate of Abu Dhabi from other Emirates. This has been in place now for the past 3 weeks. And it's rumored that it will continue until the 1st of July. There's no specific reason why, but it is under lockdown. There is movement within the Emirates freely, but you can't go in and out of the Emirate. And then all Emirates still have the evening curfew. So Dubai from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. there is a curfew where you can't go outside. They're still continuing the disinfection program. All other Emirates, it's from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And I suppose, we're just waiting for our borders to fully open, which we are hoping will happen in the near future, the coming weeks. They have made some announcements in regards to what will happen when they open. So there will be a 14-day quarantine. So you either go to a home that has a separate room and bathroom or a hotel and stay in your room. You will be tested when you arrive at the airport, and you will be tested again after 14 days. And they will have a tracking app. So you need to stay in the location you said you will be at. And there's a 50,000 dirham fine if you're caught outside of the location. So, there is a plan, but it's quite strict when they will open up. But, all very positive. So that's kind of what's happening here at the moment.
There's so many interesting things there. I mean, so there's still, when we spoke last time, I remember being fascinated by the disinfection program. So this is, the curfew happens and they're still cleaning the whole city. That's amazing. Oh, sorry, we lost you again.
Yes, can you hear me now? Sorry. Yeah. Every night that's still taking place and has been now for the past 2 months. And the curfew, everyone is sticking to it. You have to stick to it. But we're allowed, out between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. So it's not really a problem.
And tell me about the quarantine. So that is quite a strict quarantine. I mean, we have, as I've been talking to people around the world, they kind of vary. I mean, here in the UK, you are meant to go straight to a destination. You are meant to self-isolate. You're not supposed to go to the shops unless you have to. But, it's a little bit woolly. What's happening in the Emirates sounds very defined. You have to go to a house with a room with a bathroom or a hotel room and stay in your hotel room.
Exactly. And I think, they very much have it under control here. So when they do open up the borders, they, you know, they wanted to be very controlled and have strict measures in place. Of course, we don't know how long that will last for, but that's definitely the plan at the moment. And, you know, hopefully the borders will open the next 1 or 2 weeks, or July 1st latest, but we have no definite date on that yet.
And I mean, when you say the borders open, does that mean the airport will be back to some level of capacity? That's the real deal, right?
Airports are actually open at the moment. Emirates and Etihad are flying residents back in and flying people that are leaving the UAE. There also are some transit flights happening within the airport, but it's, you know, very small capacity. I think Emirates is around 30 flights, destinations they're flying to, as opposed to their 100 plus or 200 destinations plus 1,000 destinations. So yeah, it's slowly getting back to some capacity, basically.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. But like you say, life in other areas is as normal. Restaurants are open, and how is that working within like the restaurant environment? Are you away from each other at tables? Is it very organized?
Exactly. So I suppose when I say normal, it's like the new normal. So restaurants, it's 50% capacity. So basically every second table you're not allowed to sit at. You wear your mask going into the restaurant. You can take it off when you're eating at a table. A maximum of 5 people at a table from your own group. And your temperature checked when you go into the restaurant. But, you know, people are going out and about. I was in a restaurant at the weekend and it was full to the capacity it could be at. So I think people are really, they've been locked up for so long, they're dying to get out and, you know, actually go have a meal outside again. And I think, you know, here we had deliveries all the time, so we weren't as bad as other countries. I know, you know, back home in Ireland and in the UK, people are dying for the restaurants to open up again and a change of scenery and environment.
Just a bit. Absolutely. Fantastic. It's great. It's good to hear that things are starting to normalize. That's so important for everybody's psyche right now. So tell me, how is your team doing, and what is your team doing right now?
Yeah, well, Dom and the team are doing great. Thank you. And, you know, I have to say that during the whole crisis, they worked incredibly hard. We probably worked twice as hard for, you know, less than half the revenue. And I think everybody has been in that boat, but at all times remained extremely positive. And both Marie and I, you know, we're really proud as to how we operated during the last couple of months. And it's absolutely down to each and every team member doing their part. And like, we have to say a huge thank you to them for everything they've done, because definitely at times it wasn't easy, you know, working from home, or be it the worry about what was happening, you're under curfew and all of that. It's a huge thing mentally to deal with, but at all times they were at their desks and doing their job, and we couldn't have asked for anything more.
It's fantastic.
So, I mean, we were busy on a number of things, and I suppose maybe just to give you a quick roundup.
Please,
I mean, first and foremost, we have been using Relocation Online as our portal. But during lockdown and when we first started to come back into the office, we rolled that out to our immigration team. So they now have all been trained up on the portal and went fully live on it from the 1st of June, so that both departments are using it. So we're delighted with that. Additionally, we've been doing a huge finance transformation project over the last couple of months. And in the last couple of weeks, we moved to QuickBooks Online, which has streamlined things considerably for us. It was a lot of work to do, but we got there. So now the next step that we're quite excited about is there will be a plugin from QuickBooks to Relocation Online, which will streamline our invoicing process as well. So freeing up everybody's time and making things a lot simpler, which is great. Similarly, I think our relocation team were probably the biggest impacted team within the company. And due to the lockdown of borders, people just weren't coming in, weren't moving about. So they then had capacity to take on a number of projects. And one result of the lockdown, we had quite a number of clients that were stuck outside, expats unable to return, but subsequently made the decision then not to come back. So once the lockdown was lifted, we then went in and we shut down their property for them, packed up, shipped their belongings back home. We've been selling cars, motorbikes. We can do anything now at this stage. So we've been busy doing that. So that was a new service for us, but you know, it was a necessity that was born out of the situation. in addition to that, then we've been working on a number of projects around about the whole COVID scenario. So we developed rent negotiations. So we've been speaking to landlords, negotiating rents for clients who have, you know, maybe they've been put on unpaid leave or they've had salary reductions. So we've been helping out there. We also have developed a safe and sound service. So once the border opens up, expats coming in, they will be subject to self-isolation. So that product will support them during that time. And then also we developed our virtual home search. So again, we worked very closely with Ron and his team at Relocation Online. And in doing and delivering the virtual home search, we very much wanted to be able to do it from the platform. And he has been fantastic. We're now able to showcase videos within the platform. So we can show the 360 virtual tours of the properties. We can show community tours as well, which is great. And I know that he and the team are currently working on doing virtual tours and things like Google My Maps. So we'll be able to plot out locations and take them through a virtual tour from within the platform, which will be a good experience for the assignee as well, you know, nice and seamless. So we've done a lot to improve our efficiency. So now we're just sitting waiting for the busy times to roll on, you know, and we can just get moving with it. So it's all good. And one final thing as well, I have to say a huge thank you to Eura, because you made the MIM training available free of charge to everybody. And most of our team have completed that at this stage, with a few others still undergoing it, and will be finished by the end of the month. So the timing was perfect. Thanks a million.
You're so kind to say that. Thank you very much. It was really the least we could do. That is amazing. I mean, you have really used this time to like revolutionize your processes, your invoicing systems. And in a way, I mean, if you were planning, if those things were in the pipeline coming up for the next years, has this brought your implementation schedule way forward?
Oh, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, a lot of that was in the diary to be finished maybe by the end of the year. But, you know, I'm kind of quite annoyed and jealous because, you know, we keep hearing about people who have had time to garden and take up hobbies and, you know, do all these things. We had no time, you know, we were just focused on getting all of this work done. So we feel a little bit hard done by that we didn't get to do these personal things. But the reward will come later, I'm sure.
Do you know what? It's funny. I feel a bit like that too. It's kind of like you. We kind of, you know, when we all froze at the beginning, end of February, beginning of March, and kind of went, oh, what are we going to do? And then suddenly, like you say, you're busier than you were before. Apart from the fact you're implementing all of these fantastic new projects, you're also supporting your assignees. You're trying to figure out your processes. It does end up being an incredibly busy time. I'm super impressed you were able to do the API link between the system and the invoicing, the system and the video content. That's great.
Yeah, and I really have to say thank you to Ron at Relocation Online, because he has been super supportive and worked very closely with us, you know. So he's doing his bit, we're doing our bit. So we expect hopefully it'll happen in the next few weeks and months that'll be ready to go.
And do you think, I mean, I've been asking this of a few people, you know, when we've been talking about, you know, people moving to virtual platforms to do certain parts of the work. Do you think that will become an integrated service, or will you look at moving back to, you know, the higher touch? I guess it depends on the level of your clients, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, there's always the risk on the virtual side of things, selecting that property. And if that property wasn't ideal for you and your family, you know, you've no smell-o-vision or touch-o-vision or anything like that, you know. So I think for now, it'll be important, and particularly for things maybe like tours. So the look-see, you know, that will be important for that. But, you know, it's here and it's developed. We will deliver the service if it is required. But I would imagine, you know, we're human beings. We love interacting with people, getting out, being social. So I think in time that probably will come back more and more. But for now, we'll address the market and its needs.
I think that's right. I think it's interesting. I was talking to Christine Martin in Barcelona of Olympic Advisors, and she was saying they've transitioned into the same thing. Obviously, right now, this is the best way to be doing things. But she said, but our house tours are not the ones that you would get from the real estate. We're actually being really, there's a closet here, but it's quite small. You know, there's a balcony, but it's not maybe as big as you would want. You're trying to be really, to like you say, to get that sort of expectation across.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
We'll be careful.
So you've done an enormous amount already. I mean, you're already working in some capacity. You're waiting for the borders to reopen until you can really plan what capacity you're going to be working at. What's, you know, how are you doing in terms of your work now and your work that's planned after the borders open again? I'm sorry, it's gone quiet again. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, John. You know, basically, as I said earlier, we are back in the office 100% and working as normal. We are only working a 4-day week, and that was a management decision. So we're taking an extended weekend, and as you know, the UAE working week is Sunday to Thursday. So we're actually closed on Sundays now. We have our weekend Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is minimum impact because most of our clients are all over the world and off on Sundays anyway. So 4 days, we're busy. You know, we're busy working on our current services and also working on, you know, the new services we have launched. And as Aideen has said, you know, we have been working on a lot of projects, and we're slowly starting to see new initiations coming in, and also initiations that were put on hold and postponed are starting to become live and active again. So, you know, we're certainly busy and have been the whole time throughout this period. And I suppose we've kept ourselves busy. You know, there's two types of people during this time. You can hibernate and try and hide away from it all, or you can just be positive and get out there and make the most of it. So, which is what we've tried to do. You know, we're not perfect, but we've tried to make the most of it and, you know, work on projects that we could work on. But we're definitely slowly seeing now new initiations and things becoming live again. And I suppose, you know, we really hope by the 1st of August, latest, our borders will definitely be open and we'll be back working 5 days a week, and we will be busy and we'll have a backlog of work that will slowly start to come live again. And, you know, we'll have it won't be an amazing end to the year. I don't think it will be for anyone.
No.
But just get back to, again, the new normal and, you know, start just being busy with actual services and revenue again.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing from pretty well everybody, that, you know, we're working towards the assignments that were postponed that are now still going forwards. But obviously, like you said, everything is key on borders being open and movement starting again. That's
and not just from a UAE perspective, from other countries as well. So we kind of need things to move forward on a worldwide perspective for business to start moving forward as well. But look, you know, we're going in the right direction, and definitely, as I said to you earlier, Dom, as well, you know, I think things are a lot more positive now than I would have expected them to be, you know, back 2 months ago when we were planning and, you know, relooking at our budget and seeing what's going to happen for the rest of the year. I didn't think it would be as positive mid-June that it actually is now.
Sorry, I've lost you again.
Sorry, am I back?
Yeah.
Things are definitely looking positive.
I'm really pleased. It's great to hear. It's been very interesting talking to people all over the world. And you know, we were saying this before we started the recording. You know, you're talking with your colleagues everywhere, and obviously I'm talking with our members all over the place. And in a way, it's such a tough call, because the countries that have been so incredibly successful at keeping this virus at bay. I talked to Laurent Quistrebert in Vietnam, and he said, you know, 320 cases, no deaths, whole country is open, but a bit like Abu Dhabi, the country is totally sealed. So no one can come in and no one can go out. So and then how do you restart from that? It's so interesting how people are responding. We're just doing some cultural survey bit that's gone out, if you haven't filtered into, because it's going to be very, very interesting. So you're planning, you're starting. What sort of processes have you had to think about implementing, changing the way that you do things? Obviously, you mentioned doing the virtual home tours. What's your going forward exit strategy, as it were?
Well, I love a good process and a good policy, Dom, but I never thought I'd be writing a return to work policy. But, you know, there you go. So I think we've kind of looked at it looking at three sides. There's the employee, there's the assignees, and then clients and visitors coming into the office. So in terms of the employees, when they now come into the office every day, they have to sign a register. We have to do a temperature check for them, and they have to hand wash and sanitize. So that's done every day. Same when they leave in the evenings, that they sign out at the register and we check temperature again for them. We're quite lucky in that we have a relatively large office with a number of meeting rooms. So very easily we've been able to adopt to the social distance in the office. So that was quite an easy one for us to do. And as Marie said earlier, everyone must wear a face mask when in the office. And that's within the law. And if you don't do that, there's a €700 fine if you're caught without wearing the mask. Several occasions I've had to turn around and go home and collect my mask. I've forgotten it, you know, but so that's in place. Also, we have some employees who would come to work using public transport. So for them, we have put flexible hours in place so that they're able to travel outside of peak hours, so thus we can ensure that, you know, we're keeping them as safe as we possibly can and with what's in our control. On the visitor side then, anybody that's coming to the office, they must have an appointment. And when they come then, we will be asking them to sign a declaration form. So basically that just states, you know, have they traveled in the last 14 days? Have they come into contact with anybody who would have COVID, or are they experiencing any symptoms? In addition to that, they must wear the face mask coming in, and they'll be asked to do a temperature check and hand sanitize as well. On the assignee side, then anybody that starts to come in once the borders open, as expected, they'll probably have to do the 14 days in isolation. Once that's completed, then again, they will have to do the self-declaration forms, as well as our employee who is taking them out. So both parties will do a declaration form, and then when they are collected by car, they'll do a temperature check. They will be provided with gloves, with a mask if they don't have one already, and hand sanitizer. They will sit in the back seat, and we won't allow any more than 2 passengers in the car at a time. So that's pretty much our new normal, you know, and how we're going to be working.
It is. Now that, I mean, because we're talking about this and you're talking about it with your colleagues and I'm talking about it with our members, and it seems so normal. But can you imagine if somebody said that in February, that, you know, you'll be wearing masks, you'll be wearing gloves, you'll have hand sanitizer, you will do people. I mean, it's amazing how quickly we adjust, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's brilliant. And even yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she has a 3-year-old boy, and I was just asking, you know, is he okay? Is he nervous or worried? And they've done a fabulous job with him, and they kind of made a game out of the whole thing about the hand washing and everything. And he has taken it fully in his stride now, you know. So we all adapt very quickly and easily, I think. And to be honest, I mean, the hands are worn off me, sanitizing and everything at this stage. It is what it is.
It is what it is. I just wanted to ask very quickly about, again, you know, you mentioned going into self-isolation. I'm assuming that if you've got a family coming in, that you can self-isolate together, or if you're a couple, you self. Yeah, okay, guess.
As long as the unit is together and doesn't go out, they don't go outside that unit.
Got it. Thank you. So tell me, how is, you said things are open, people are happy to be back in restaurants. What is the national mood at the moment? Sorry, you've gone quiet again.
Okay, am I back?
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah. We have to do a second try each time. I suppose, Sam, to answer that question, it very much depends who you speak to. Definitely from a PR perspective, the UAE, you know, things are certainly positive. But of course, certain industries like aviation, hospitality, oil and gas, things are not so positive. You know, they've been the biggest hit, and, you know, globally across the world, it's been the hardest for them. But, you know, the restrictions have eased. People are out and about. The roads are busy again. You know, the restaurants are busy. The malls are, you can see a lot more activity. So, you know, and people want to go out and about and spend and move around again. From an e-commerce perspective, you know, businesses that were never online, didn't sell online, are now all selling online. One of our biggest supermarket chains never sold online. They've now gone online. You know, restaurants that didn't deliver, a lot of the top brand restaurants here are now doing delivery services. So, you know, there's been a big change in the way companies operate here, and obviously a very positive change. And I suppose, you know, when you look at our numbers have been 42,000 cases, but we've had less than 300 deaths.
Wow.
Yeah, and there's been a spike in recoveries and a drop in daily cases. And the UAE is one of the top 10 countries in the world in the number of tests they're doing per capita. So we have done a lot of testing here, hence why our numbers are quite high, but deaths are very low, under 300. So, you know, the country has done a good job. And I suppose just to round up overall, you know, the mood is definitely positive. And from a personal perspective, I feel very confident. I'm happy to go out and about, of course, with, you know, my mask, the social distancing measures in place. But, you know, I feel very safe. So I went to a restaurant at the weekend. I've been meeting friends. You know, and Dubai very much, you know, no matter what crisis the world or Dubai goes through, Dubai bounces back. You know, more opportunities come. It's our lead, you know, it's a fabulous positive attitude here, and our leadership very much is there's no limit. And the answer no doesn't exist in their vocabulary. If something needs to be done and get it done, they'll find a way, and we will get it done. And I suppose, you know, the saying where there's a will, there's a way is certainly very applicable here in this part of the world. And you know, hence why we're all here. There's an expat population of 90%. You know, I'm here 13 years, have no intention of leaving, and you know, I'm definitely very positive and very confident. And I think the UAE has done a great job during this pandemic.
That's really great to hear. And, you know, it's like you say, it does depend on who you talk to, and it's the same, you know, all over the world. But it is very interesting how you say, again, it's a 90% population of expats. It's a country built of people with positive attitudes who want to make something, who want to do something, who want to go forward. Very, very interesting. Sorry,
am I back?
Yeah.
It's not perfect here. You know, there's no perfect country, no perfect place in the world. You know, but we're all here of choice. We want to be here, and you know, we have a very nice lifestyle, and it definitely is. It's always been a positive attitude here, and you know, Dubai just and the UAE figures things out, and they make it happen, and it does happen. You know, I think in other countries you probably wait for 10 years for a bridge to be built, whereas here it's built in 2 months.
I remember having that was something that impressed me hugely about being in Dubai, but also the last time I was flying out of Singapore, I was in the taxi going from the airport, and I said to the taxi driver, "What's that?" And that's the new terminal for the airport. And I was like, "Gosh, how long is that going to take?" He said, "Oh, it'll be ready by the end of the year." And I thought, it's taken 25 years to get Heathrow planning, let alone, you know, so like you say, you know, in a country where there's, like you say, where there's a will, there's a way, it'll happen. Amazing. Listen, it's been such a pleasure talking to you both. It really has. I'm really looking forward to the time when we can actually, you know, share a glass somewhere in person, because it's been a while and we were all looking forward to that in Seville. But
we look forward to that too.
Definitely. And in the meantime, look, good. It would be great to catch up at the end of the summer. You know, again, just to look at where we are, you know, the borders have opened and how things are moving forward. But thank you so much, both of you, for taking the time to do this. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you also for your incredible positivity. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great to see you.
Videos and everything, they're fantastic.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It really is. Look at our amazing members. It's a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, thanks, John. Take care. Bye.